Greetings to you viewers. My name is Pastor Yvonne Chipindu. We are still continuing with giving. Today we want to talk about the principles of giving. We will start with number 1, which is love. If you go to John 3 verse 16, it says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his son." So because God loved us, he gave us his son. So God introduced love to us. So now if I love my children, I will give them whatever they want because I love them. I cannot give my love to somebody whom I don't love. So now when God has given us his son, we as his followers, we also need to do the same to the people around us, to the people that we work with, to our family members, to anyone. Like I remember last week, I was even talking about the people, teaching people about the witch must die. And I said that we don't need to pray for them to die, but we need to show them love. We need to welcome them to this family of God that has love. We need to love each one or anyone, irregardless of what they do to us. And when we talk about love, we are not, if you talk about love, I cannot talk about love when I don't love my enemies. Because when I only talk about love, when I only love my sister, when I only love my friends, that is not love. Because this love that we are talking about is the love kind of God, that is the agape. The agape is unconditional love. We can give love to anybody, to murderers, to prostitutes, to our haters, to our enemies, to those witches, because the love of God is unconditional, as he has loved us unconditional. We also want to talk about, under the principles of giving, we want to talk about sacrifice. You cannot give without sacrifice. If you go to the same scripture that I've read, John 3 verse 16, God sacrificed what he had in order to show love. So we also want to go to Luke chapter 21 verse 1 to 4. While Jesus was in the temple, he watched the rich people dropping their gifts in the collection box. Then a poor widow came by and dropped in 2 small coins. Verse 3, "I tell you the truth," Jesus said, "this poor widow has given more than all the rest of them, for they have given a tiny part of their surplus. But she, poor as she is, has given everything she has." So this widow, according to Jesus, is the one who has given more than even the rich. Why? Because she gave sacrificially. She gave all that she had and was left with nothing. That's why I said sacrificial giving is also under the principles of giving. Because if you are rich and you just give your tiny part, you are left with surplus. But this woman has given all that she had. And you know what? She was only left with faith. She could live with faith that God is going to provide. What am I going to eat? I don't even know, because I've given my all to God, but God will sacrifice, will give me something just by the faith that she had. So the rich, they were given only their tiny part and they were left with everything. And as you can see, if you are comparing the rich and this poor widow, the rich didn't have faith because they could live according to what they have. But this poor widow was only going to live with faith. That's all she only had with her when she gave her offering. So as a child of God, as we are talking giving, give sacrificially, as our God, he has given us sacrificially as well when he gave us his only son. I also want to talk about the source. Source is also under the principles of giving. I need to read for you 1 Samuel chapter 1 verse 11. "And she made this vow, O Lord of heaven's armies, if you will look upon my sorrow and answer my prayer and give me a son, then I'll give him back to you. He will be yours for his entire lifetime, and as a sign that he has been dedicated to the Lord, his hair will never be cut." So this is Hannah. She was dedicating her son if God gave her. You know why she was doing that? Because she knew that God was her source. She knew knew that I can only get a son from God. So as we are children of God, as we are giving to the church of God, we should know that even if you give your all, even if you give your whole salary, you will know that God is going to provide for me until the month end, because he is our source. Our salary is not our source. Going to work, getting our pay is not our source, but God is our source. We also want to talk about the effects of giving. The effects of giving. I'm going with you to Genesis chapter 18, verse 1 to 15. The Lord appeared again to Abraham near the oak grove belonging to Mamre. One day, Abraham was sitting at the entrance to his tent during the hottest part of the day. He looked up and noticed 3 men standing nearby. When he saw them, he ran to meet them and welcoming them, bowing low to the ground. As I have said, that giving, it's not only money. When Abraham met these 3 men, he bowed low to the ground. We know, according to their custom, it is a sign of respect. Like I said, that we need to be humble. We need to show respect even to anyone, even to the people that are around us, as a sign of respect, just as Abraham did. And I shall continue. My Lord, he said, if it pleases you, stop here for a while, rest in the shade of this tree while water is brought to wash your feet. As you can see, Abraham also welcomed them. And he asked them if they could wait for a little while. I shall continue. And since you have honored your servant with this visit, let me prepare some food to refresh you before you continue on your journey. I shall continue. All right, they said, do as you have said. So Abraham ran back to the tent and said to Sarah, hurry, get 3 large measures of your best flour. Look at that. Abraham was giving his all. He said, hurry and give them 3 large measures, the word large there, and your best flour. So he wasn't giving them, he was giving them the best flour, the best that he had. He sacrificed his best flour to these visitors. Knead it into dough and bake some bread. Then Abraham ran out to the head and chose a tender calf and gave it to his servants, who quickly prepared it. When the food was ready, Abraham took some yogurt and milk and the roasted meat, and he served it to them. As they ate, Abraham waited on them till in the shade of the trees. Then I shall continue. Verse 9, where is Sarah your wife? The visitors asked. So as you can see, the giving that Abraham did, his respect, the food provoked God. Because listen to this now. Where is Sarah your wife? The visitors asked. She is inside the tent, Abraham replied. Then one of them said, I'll return to you about this time next year, and your wife Sarah will have a son. And let me take you back. Abraham had been praying for a son. He even, if you go to Genesis 16, that's when Ishmael was born. Abraham tried to have a son through Sarah's maidservant. This is only telling us that Abraham had a time praying for a son, but a son was not coming. But look at what he has done now. He has welcomed these visitors. He has given his all, even his time, even his respect, and his giving provoked God. Because as we go on to read, the visitors then told Abraham that when I come by this time next year, Sarah will have a wife. So at times when we give, it's also a prayer to God, because just by Abraham's acts, it made God to give him the son that he had longed to have for all this while. He was praying, even Sarah loved. I shall continue so that you'll understand. I shall continue. Sarah was listening to this conversation from the tent. Abraham and Sarah were both very old this time. And Sarah was long past the age of having children. So she loved silently to herself and said, how could a worn-out woman like me enjoy such pleasure, especially when my master, my husband, is so old? So she's now laughing at this conversation that how can I have a child when I am old? Even my husband is also old. But listen, Abraham's giving triggered God to give him his son. He provoked God, and God gave him this son just by giving. So when we are giving in church, let us give our all. Let us give with all our heart so that we will provoke God. Till we meet again tomorrow, stay blessed.